student, that was simply the job description and job specification. Now the next we have, that is the recruitment and decruitment. What is recruitment? As I told you that under the process of HRP planning process or employment process or employment function, when human resource department identifies that how many current clear access to the current employees and how many, for example, potential employees are required for the future consideration, so then they have two terminologies. They have to face two situations. One is known as recruitment, one is known as decruitment. Like for example, as I told you that when organization required 200 people and they have only 150 people, it means 50 people further required by the organization. So it means in this situation, once they identified this situation in the HRP process, so then they move to proceed clear the recruitment process. Why? Because they required 50 more people, because the organization requirement is 200 people. So recruitment is what? The process of locating means finding out, identifying and attracting capable applicants to an organization. So recruitment is that process that where organization or HR department grab the attention of the individual or potential candidate toward the organization's vacant position to fulfill those vacancies. So that process is simply known as recruitment process. Then we have the next state or situation which the human resource management department faces, and that is decruitment. What is decruitment? Decruitment simply means that it is the opposite of your recruitment. Decruitment, it means downsize the people, reduce the people, eliminate the people when there is excess in the organization about the people. Like for example, as I said to you that organization needed 200 employees, while when organization identified that they had 300 employees, it means 100 employees they are extra, that is a surplus, it is a burden on the organization. So now in this organization, what organization will do? Organization will definitely reduce, eliminate the people from the organization. So organization, out of the 300 200 will remain by the organization and 100 will be definitely deleted by the organization from the organization, by the HR department from the organization. So that reducing process about the employees or terminating process of the employees, or sometimes it is known as downsizing process as well. So that process is simply known as your decruitment process. So the process of reducing a surplus mean extra, of employees in the workforce mean people, employees of an organization. So when simply organization delete the people from the when HR department delete the people, the surplus people, the extra people from the organization, such process is simply known as your decruitment process. Hope inshallah idea will be clear. Now as I told you, recruitment. What is recruitment? Recruitment simply stated that attracting the attention or grabbing the attention of the potential candidate to fulfill the vacant positions inside the organization. Such process is simply known as your recruitment process. Recruitment process is done through external recruitment. It can be done through external recruitment. One is internal recruitment. Internal recruitment simply identified that when organization grabbing the employees from the entire premises of the organization, when HR department they find out the people from the internal limits or boundaries or within the premises of the organization, such recruitment is known as your internal recruitment. One, we have external recruitment. When organization is unable to attract the people from the internal premises, so then organization move to the labor market, external environment. Then organization or HR department dig out the people from the labor market or external market. So such recruitment is known as your external recruitment. There are so many different ways of recruitment. Here we are going to explain the online recruitment. Online recruitment simply means that recruitment of employees through the internet. That recruitment which is done through the internet is known as your recruitment. Here on the internet, organizational uses two types of methods. One, the organizational websites. Simply stated, that is known as clear the web Zoom recruitment. Most of the companies or most of the organizations, they have their web pages, and these web pages contains a comprehensive databases, and these databases required all the relevant data about the candidate has to fulfill all the required columns or data to the organization and this website of the organization is known as your web Zooms. So sometimes organizations having their own website as a database to recruit the candidate, and such website is acting as a web Zoom. So one, the method that is organizational website, and another we have the online recruiters. Online recruiters simply mean through the internet or through, for example, cyberspace recruitment, simple stated. Now the next action that is performed by the human resource management, and that is selection. What is selection? An exercise or a practice or an activity function performed by the HR department in predicting which applicants, if hired, will be successful in performing well on the criteria the organization uses to evaluate performance. Or in other words, we can simply say selection is what? Selection is a process that where an option is to be picked among the available alternatives. It means that organizations having multiple options. Options here mean I'm talking about employees, potential employees, is it candidates. So when organization has the multiple candidates, is it in options, an organization want to select the best one option available in all the alternatives. So such process of choosing is known as your selection process. Or according to this definition, we can simply say it is an exercise function performed by the HR department, while through that function HR department will predict an applicant or a potential candidate, if it is hired, will be considered a good performer or a successful performer to fulfill the criteria that is basically designed by the organization used to evaluate their performances. So that process that where an individual is selected by the organization upon the criteria that will fulfill the organization needs by measuring their performances. So such process is simply known as your selection process. Sometimes when managers do the selection process, they face some sort of errors. If you focus on the diagram, here we have the decision about the selection of candidate. Here is the selection decision, and here we have the performances. Up here we have the two dimensions. One is the acceptance and one is the reject. Here we have an unsuccessful candidate and here we have a successful performer. If let's suppose we have a successful performer and we accept that, so it means that we took a correct decision. And if you focus that when, for example, we have an unsuccessful performer and we reject it, again we took a decision and that is a correct decision. If you focus in the diagonal, in both the cases we are concerned with the correct decision. Like we are accepting that person who is successful in performance, who is a good performer, is it? So our decision is correct. And we are rejecting that person who is an unsuccessful performer. Again we are facing or we are taking a right decision. But if you look at here in these two diagonals, these are some errors, and these are known as the selection decisions errors. Like for example, I will reject an individual who is a successful performer, or in other words I can say that I have an individual who is a successful performer, who is a good performer, but what happened, I reject him or her. So it means I took a decision and that decision is a wrong decision. So therefore that is known as rejection error. Or in other words, we can say that I have accept an individual who is an unsuccessful performer, or an individual or candidate that who was not a good performer, but I accept it. it means again I took a decision, but that was clear, this decision was a wrong decision, an error I generated, is it? And that is known as your accepted error. So when we accept a candidate who is not a good or successful performer, is it, and we accept it, so it means that is an acceptance error. While we have a successful person, a successful performer, but we reject the person, so it means clear that that error is known as your rejection or reject error. So mostly managers, they are facing such kind of selection decisions error inside the decision making process of the selection of employees. Hope inshallah a bit idea will be clear. Now what is basically the selection process, or how basically the selection process, look at here, if you focus, I'm using the word selection process. So when I'm saying selection process, it means that there are various steps in the selection process, or simply we can say that there are various tools, equipments, techniques, instruments inside the selection process. Or selection process contains the various tools that is known as your application form, that is known as your written test, the performance simulation tests, the interviews, the background investigation, and physical examination. Now let's start few of the tools in detail. First of all, I would like to explain that what is application form. When an organization having the vacant position inside the organization, so HR department issue clear an employment form. This employment form contains clear all the required data relevant to the job and applicant. So that form is known as your application form, or sometime in some books it is known as your application form. This application form clear having some positive points and negative points as well. Number one, almost universally used. Most of the organizations, बल्कि almost of the organizations are using this application form. गोरा चिकला हम तासो चरता apply कोई सही हुआ नो application ने पहला organization अक्सर तासो ला यो employment form दर कई सही हुआ जगह सर तासो पर CV टच कोई नो अगर form के हर यो information contain सही हुआ नो that is simply known as your application form and mostly used by the all the organization. Then we have that relevant biographical data and facts that can be verified. This employment form of application form, it contains the biographical data of the applicant. Biographical data simply means that name of the person, father name of the person, geographical information, area code, addresses, is it, gender, for example, caste system, blood, all these are known as biographical data. And then we have some facts, some data that can be verified. Like for example, the testimonials. Like for example, they asked about my qualification, they asked about my license, they asked about my certifications, they asked about my degrees, they asked about my former employers. All these are the data which is verified or which is verifiable clear by the organization. Then can predict job performance. It means that application form contains some special weighted performance section where some important weights or values are given to some, for example, characteristics or phenomena. Like for example, if I am PhD holder, so I having some let's suppose publications. Each publication will get clear a special type of numbers, a special type of weightage, is it, which basically predict that this person will perform good in the organization clear in the future. Or in other words, we can say that basically this contains the last behavior clear performed by the individual in the last clear or previous organization. So upon the judgment or evaluating clear such last behaviors of the individual, the manager, the HR department will find out that either the person will be a good performer or not. So therefore it says that application form can predict the job performance. It depends upon on the past behaviors which the individual performed in the last performances or last organizations. Next we have the tests, written test. We have two types of test. Is it test for tool pata what is test? Comprehensive compatibility maluma walo de para organization chikam de agar test conduct ki. A variety of tests we have. We have the intelligence test, we have the aptitude test, we have the attitude test, we have the ability test, we have the interest test. Is it? Like intelligence test, it explains that how smart are you, how intelligent are you. Aptitude test, simply can you learn to do it? For example, have you learned to perform it? Then attitude test, how do you feel about it? Then we have the ability test, can you do it now? And then we have the interest test under the personality test, that do you want to do it? Is it? So there are variety of different tests. We have some interviews as well. These are some more techniques of selection process. What is interview? Although used almost universally, managers need to approach interviews carefully. What is interview? Interview is simply a detailed discussion between two parties. The person who conducts the interview is known as interviewer, and the person who gives the interview is known as interviewee. So a detailed discussion between the interviewer and interviewee is simply known as interview. Why interview is basically conducted or held? What is the reason? If we have test, so why there is a need of interview by the HR department? Tests are basically used to find out the capabilities of an individual. But some of the traits, clear, that is the limitation of the test, that test basically cannot find out clear all the capabilities of the individual. Some latent capabilities, like for example, test will give you a score about clear the individual performance, clear about the sheet. Whatever, for example, I have, let's suppose, ticked out or wrote it down, that will be definitely quantified by the test. Like in some latent capabilities clear are not explained clear through test. Like for example, how a person communicate, how a person walk, what about the person's personality, how a person speak, what about his mental state, what about his psychological state, what about his discussion, the way of talk. All these are the latent capabilities of an individual that will not explain clear through tests. So therefore, interviews are basically sought out, conducted by the HR department. So therefore, initially I said to you that interview is simply a discussion between the interviewer and the interviewee. Then we have so many types of interview, like stress interview, is it? Behavioral interview, face-to-face interview, group interview, structured interview, unstructured interview, is it? There are so many types of interviews as well. Then another selection approach or technique that is known as background investigation. And what is background investigation? Whatever the data provided by the applicant through application form, that is verified by the organization. So that verification process is simply known as your background investigation. Simply stated, it is a probing process. Verification of the applicant data. Like for example, I have mentioned in the application form that I have a 5-year experience of teaching. Now organization will verify that really Adil has clear a 5-year teaching experience or not. For example, I have mentioned in the application form that I done my last job at ABC company, is it, for the last 3 years. Now organization will verify that really I, for example, spent 3 years in the last clear ABC company or not. What does it mean? That is a verification of the data. There will be a background investigation as well, clear, from the police station, that if the person is committed in any of the criminal activity or not. So it means whatever the piece of information is provided by the individual in the application form, that is to be probed, that is to be investigated, is it? So that investigation process is simply known as background investigation. Here reference checks will be. References checks. References check simply means that reference means that whatever the people I have mentioned, that you can reference clear to those person, you can verify, you can ask from those person about my personality. That is simply known as reference checks. गोरा तासु अक्सर CV की हम लीदली आखिर के मुंगा references लिखू. It means that we are mentioning clear some people in our CV or in application form, that if you want to get some piece of information about me, is it, about individual, you can definitely link to those people. These are simply known as reference checks. But there is a limitation under reference checks. lack validity because self-selection of references ensures only positive outcomes. Like for example, if I have selected an individual who is very bosom to me, who is very much close to me, definitely when the employer will ask that person, so that reference will give a positive image of mine, will never give a negative, for example, image of mine. So therefore it simply says that this reference check has a lack of validity. It means this is not a valid thing. सही हुआ, यदि कि validity च कम आगा कम. Hope inshallah a bit idea will be clear. Now we have some physical examinations. What is physical examination? Useful for physical requirements and for insurance purpose related to pre-existing conditions. Physical examinations are simply the selection technique where the physical condition of the individual is going to be studied or examined, that either the person is mentally and physically capable to perform a job or not. So that is simply known as physical examination. Like a medical examination to check out the medical condition of an individual, that either the person is involved in a prolonged disease or not. Is it like for example AIDS, for example dina ilawa cancer. Dina ilawa, the next thing is under this that it is also important for the insurance claims. Well, most organizations they have a group insurance concept, a benefit. So for this insurance claim, organization must examine the physical condition of the individual. Hope inshallah a bit idea will be clear. Now we have the next function, that is the training function. As I told you that what is training? Training simply means that embedded the employee skills and knowledge, or in other words simply we can say training is a process that where the individual is put under the learning processes, where the individual will enhance his skills and knowledge, or a process that will bring a permanent change in the learning behavior of an individual. So such process is simply known as training. Under the training we have orientation. What is orientation? Orientation simply that education that introduces a new employee to his or her job and the organization. Orientation is simply known as induction, and induction is simply known as socialization. It means that orientation is a process that where there is an introduction of a new incumbent or new employee to the system and system to the employee. So when an introduction process that basically introduce an organization to the individual, an individual to the organization, so that introduction or education process is simply known as your orientation. Orientation contains the work unit orientation. Work unit orientation simply means that this orientation is totally about the work, totally about the work unit. Totally about work here means that totally about the job. And work unit ticket that is about the department. Like for example, work pabarake simply means that job responsibilities, job feedback, job autonomy. Is it, for example, what are the accountabilities within a job? And work unit simply means about the department. Is it the department rules, the department regulations, the reporting system, and so on. And then we have the organizational orientation. This orientation is concerned all the aspects of organization. Like for example, the organization mission, the organization vision, the organization management philosophy, is it the organization culture, the organization norms, etc. So this orientation is totally concerned about the organization. Then we have employee training. Already I explained that what is training. That training is that learning process which bring a permanent change in the learning behavior of an individual. And another we can say that training is basically a learning process which is specified on the specific job, which enhances its focuses on the current the job deficiencies. That is simply known as training. Or training is that process which enhances the skills of the individual upon the current job to enhance his or her performances. That is simply known as training. We have different types of trainings. One we have the general training and one we have the specific training. The general training is about communication skills, computer system applications, programming, customer services, executive development, management skills and development, personal growth, sales, supervisory skills, technological skills and knowledge. While the specific skills, clear, these are the basic life skills, is it, or work skills, creativity, customer education, diversity, cultural awareness, remedial writing, managing change, leadership, product knowledge, public speaking, presentation skills, safety, ethics, sexual harassments, team building, wellness and others. Or simply we can say that general trainings, these are mostly concerned to the training, while specific trainings, these are mostly to the development section. Then we have two types, one is training and one is development. That comes to specific trainings, these are mostly, their tendency is mostly toward the development. And development, simply stated, mostly for the future concentrations. Now here we have the training methods. If you focus on the slide, you will find out that one, we have the traditional training methods. One is known as on-the-job training and one is known as off-the-job training. And then we have the technological based training. The other common day like CD-ROM, DVD, video tapes, audio tapes, video conferencing, teleconferencing, satellite TV, e-learning, distance learning. All these are the technological training methods. Now let me first explain that what is on the job training and what is off the job training. If you focus on the word on the job simply means that a training session which is held within the actual job environment performed by the organization. Or in other words, simply we can say when an individual is put under the training process and the person is on the job, the person is performing the job within the actual working environment. Or we can say when training is provided to the employee within the actual working environment, such training is known as on the job training. While off the job training means that simply providing the training to the individual away from the actual working environment is simply known as off the job. When a person is within the job and somebody is going to train the person, guideline the person within the job, is it during the job, is known as on the job. While away from the actual working environment, when somebody is going to, let's suppose, guideline an individual, so such training is known as off the job. Like as well as let's suppose off the job training ke chide das tasu sara simply rashi lectures, classroom lectures, is it? This is one of the kind of off the job. While on the job chide, for example, the well under study assignment, is it? So under study assignment or ya coaching chikam de ya mentoring chikam de, all these are mostly on the job. They tamunga wayu on the job. Hope inshallah a bit idea will be clear. Now the next method, that is employee performance management. What is employee performance management system? First of all, let me explain from the definition: a process of establishing performance standards and appraising employee performances. What is performance management system? Performance management system, simply it is a managerial system that where some standards are established. And what is standard? Standard is simply a criteria, is it? Some performances standards are to be established, maintained by the management system, and then employee performances are basically captured according to those standards. Or in other words, we can say that performance management system is a managerial system where employees' performances are compared with some specialized criteria of performances, is it? Such system is known as your simply performance management system. Or in other words, simply we can say a management technique that where individual performances are to be examined according to some specified performance standard. So such performance system is known as your performance management system. Here the word we have standards. As I told you, that standard simply means that it is a criteria. What is criteria? Criteria is a condition. Suppose I would like to explain with the help of example it to make your idea inshallah fully clear. When we say, let's suppose that individual, the common body temperature is how much? A common body temperature, that is 98 Celsius, is it? For example, 98 Celsius च कम दे सही हुआ, that is the common body temperature. अब suppose any of the person, let's suppose Mr. A. Mr. A is suffering from fever, is it? I need an instrument, thermometer, if I want to check clear his temperature. So when I checked his temperature, for example, he is suffering from fever and he has a temperature 101. सही हुआ? अब how I got this that the Mr. A is suffering from fever 101? It means I have compared 101 with a normal body temperature which is 98 degrees Celsius. So that 98 is what? That 98 is a standard. That is known as a criteria. Is it? So same is the case that actual performance 101 I compared clear with the standard 98 to a condition. So same is the case that in the performance management system, the managers, the human resource department, it basically fix some standards, some criteria of performances. Then when organization, the managers inside the employees inside the organization, they perform actual performances. So their actual performances are compared with those criteria or standards. So a system that where these standards are established by the organization and then employees performances are recorded, captured and controlled or compared clear with the standards. So that management system is simply known as your performance management system. Hope inshallah a bit idea will be clear. Now students, we have a variety of methods clear to appraise the performance of an individual. A few of the methods I have mentioned here just to make your idea clear, because these are the HR issues, so inshallah we will discuss in HR. Up here we have number one, the first method, that is a written essay, or sometimes it is also known as essay appraisal. It doesn't mean essay appraisal, clear? Essay appraisal here simply means that some essay, some description is written clear on the performance of the individual. Like as a for example, I want to rate an individual, is it? Theoretically, descriptive wise, I have to explain all the clear description about that individual. Then I will give clear him or her marks. So that method where a description is written, an essay is written, a statement clear, a detail, for example, essay is written about the individual, is it? So such method of rating is known as your written essay method. Then we have the critical incident method. If you focus on the word critical incident, critical mean important, incident mean, for example, wakia, instance. Some critical incidents, some important incidents, some positive and negative incidents are recorded about the individual. Like for example, if I am saying that Mr. A performed very well on the 23rd of the June. Let's suppose on the 26th of the June he performed clear not well. Like for example, on the 23rd of the June he tackled clear 3 or 4 clients, but on the 26th June, let's suppose he fought with the clients. These were 2 positive clear and 2 negative incidents clear about the Mr. A. So when I recorded or writer recorded some critical, important, positive and negative incidents clear wakia about the individual, so such method is known as your critical incident method. Then we have multi-person comparison method. Multi-person comparison method means that where a single individual is compared with the rest of the individual within a group. Like for example, I have a group of 5 people, is it? A, B, C, D, E, 5 people. I want to compare Mr. A with the rest of all the people. Mr. A will be compared with Mr. B, then with Mr. C, then with Mr. D, and then with, for example, Mr. E. Then Mr. B will be compared with Mr. A, Mr. C, Mr. D, and Mr. E. So here each individual will be compared with the rest of the other individuals within a group. Such comparison method, such of rating, is known as multi-person comparison. Then we have the MBO, management by objective. Already we have discussed that management by objective means that supervisors and top management mutually they make the goals. These goals are then brought down clear to the lower levels, and lower levels are assigned with the targets, and these targets clear upon the performance are to be measured, and then compensation will be given to them. Simply stated, we can say that MBO or participative management style of rating to measure the performances. And then we have 360-degree appraisal. Got a 360-degree appraisal. It means that from each and every colleague, is it individual, the manager will ask about the individual. That is simply known as 3-degree. Like for example, suppose I'm a employee in Salam, is it? When management want to rate me, they will ask from the students, they will ask from the top management, they will ask from the kaka, they will ask, let's suppose, from the other teachers, they will ask from the, for example, senior teachers, junior teachers, they will ask from the rest of the other department teachers. What does it mean? It means all employees. 360-degree means simply all employees. It means in each individual will be rated clear from all the employees, by their bosses, by their peers, by their colleagues, by their supervisors, is it, by their managers, by their co-workers, is it, from the ladies. So that is simply known as 360-degree appraisal. So these are the different methods with the help of which individual or managers, they rate the employees, or they check the performance of the individual. Then we have the compensation and benefit. What is compensation? Organization managers they provide salary. Rather than salary, something extra than salary, that is simply known as compensation. Simply salary and benefits. Benefits of fair, effective and appropriate compensation system. Benefits provided by the organization, is it, that must be fair, that must be effective, is it, and that must be adequate or appropriate, clear in the organization. There is a positive point of the benefits. Helps attract and retain high performance employees. The people who are the good performer or high performer, and when organization provide clear a good benefit to the high performer, so definitely the high benefits or clear, or that will attract clear, and that will remain high performance inside the organization. Like for example, if clear I'm performing well, if my productivity, my performance is 90 to 95%, upon my performance, organization is giving me, for example, the good incentives, is it, the different piece rate programs. So what does it mean? I will never leave Salam. Because why? Because I know if I will provide good performance to the organization, so in response, organization will give me the bonuses, organization will give me the benefits and compensation. So it means the probability, the chance of being retained in the organization, that will be high, clear, for the higher performance employees. And then it impacts the strategic performance of the firm. And when the compatible high performance will retain inside the organization, definitely their performance will lead to the organizational success. Which is a high performance organization की long time दे para पाती कीगी, खब performer पाती कीगी, न organization automatically performance हम खशी. सही शो. Hope inshallah a bit idea will be clear. अब we have different types of compensation program. यो खुदा दे base wage or salary. Base wage or salary, yo khoda the salary per month concept chikam de. So per month, for example, incentive salary mass chikam werta wayu. Yo de musara base wage. Base wage matlab da de cho organization so ki organization basic, for example, salary provide ki. Or basic salary, like for example, the way amount 20,000 is basic salary. Da bo har you employee na milabegi. Each employee has a basic salary, fixed salary, that is 20,000. Is it? Up the performance, let's suppose the individual is performing well, so upon his or her performance, the incentives are given to the individual. Matlab your individual chede agar 200, let's suppose extra earn kai, no up 20,000 plus 200, yeah 2,000, is it? It means that is a base wage plus incentive, is it? So then we have the incentive payments. Incentive payments simply mean performance based. Like for example, if I am performing 30%, my performance is 30%, so I will get according to the 30%. If my performance is 80%, so I will get according to my performance 80%. So it means such incentives is on the base pay or incentive payment. Yeah, data performance based compensation hum wayu. Then we have skill based pay. Skill based simply means that whenever individual is using a variety of skills within a job. Let's suppose I'm working in an organization, and during my job I'm using a variety of skills. Like I'm using communication skill, negotiation skill, bargaining skill. Let's suppose dena ilawa chekam de convincing skill, dena ilawa conflict resolution skill, does customer relationship skill. It means a variety of skills I'm going to use clear in my job. So when I'm using clear the variety of skills, in my job, and these are the unique skills. So upon utilization of my such skills, organization will pay me according to upon those skills. So that skill, that pay or that compensation program will be known as skill based program. I would like to explain it more. Norm idea clear comes to Gora. Suppose I'm a teacher, is it? Management, human resource management, sexual and organizational behavior. These subjects are assigned to me. That Mr. Adil, you have to teach these subjects clear to the different semesters. Up suppose rather than these subjects, I am teaching the the Harris system, human resource information system. It's a software, and SPSS, that is a statistical software. It means that Harris and statistical software, these are my special skills. So when I'm conveying my special skills clear in my teaching, so organization will give me some more compensation upon my Harris and SPSS skill. So this compensation clear upon my skill is known as skill based pay. Then we have variable pay. Variable pay program simply mean piece rate program. What is piece rate? Piece rate simply means that per unit organization will give you a fixed amount. Like this, for example, there is no basic salary. Whatever the units you are producing, per unit we will give you some amount. Is it? Upon the total production multiply clear with the per unit, that will be your total compensation. Suppose organization mata way Mr. Adil, you have to produce clear 200 units. Per unit we will give you 2 rupees. Is it? Let's suppose I have produced 200 unit, and per unit that is 2. So 200 multiplied by 2, that is total 400 is my compensation. So when a unit or an amount, a quantity is fixed upon the production of a single unit, that is known as piece per rate. Is it? That each piece clear will have a rate. Hope inshallah a bit idea will be clear. Then we have profit sharing. Simply stated, what is profit sharing? Profit sharing simply means that organization is earning a profit. With proper formula, with proper method, a percentage of the profit is basically shared among the employees. So such compensation is known as profit sharing. We have some more variable programs as well, like for example gain sharing. Gain sharing simply means that any of the individual or group clear upon its productivity, they will get according to the productivity. Like for example, we have 3 groups ABC. A is performing 30%, so they will get according to their productivity. B will perform 80%, they will get according to their productivity. C will get, for example, according to their productivity if they are performing 20%. So it simply means that is known as gain sharing. Hope inshallah a bit idea will be clear. We have some more benefits as well. Like inshallah dalta tasuda dalta pore idea inshallah tasula clear sheet. Now students, next we have another function, and that is known as clear the motivation function. Inshallah gura awal I have explained clear the human resource management department ma tasula idea clear karla. Then we start clear from the HRP function. Is it? We start the selection function, the recruitment function, the training function, training ki orientation I have explained. Then performance management system methods I have explained. Then I explain clear the compensation function, and now we will explain inshallah the next function, that is motivation function. Now motivation chede sexual ab the juda slide no kita will explain koma because age ke totally chekam de theory gani, and later on inshallah we will discuss in detail. Our next function will be the motivation function. Thank you so much.